Be honest. Have you given your vacuum a name?
85% of Roombas have names.
It's vacuum.
Are you a heartless monster?
Should we be treating machines like humans? Like pets?
They have funeral ceremonies for the IBOs that can't be repaired anymore.
Or like something else?
This is Mr. Spaghetti.
Okay. Plus, we tried giving our own AI a body. So you're just like shopping for people.
Yeah. That doesn't sound wrong, does it?
Welcome to Life with Machines, powered by Lenovo. I'm Baratunde Thurston. Today's episode, it's a double feature. First up, we have a conversation with the brilliant and mischievous Kate Darling, a researcher who studies the surprisingly deep bond between humans and machines. And if you've ever felt a pang of guilt picking up your Roomba by the scruff, this episode's for you. What? Oh my, okay. Kate's work helps explain why we name our vacuums, mourn our robot dogs, and flinch when an animatronic seal gives us side-eye. She's the author of The New Breed, where she argues that instead of thinking about robots as tools, or worse, as fake humans, we might take a cue from how we relate to animals and think of them as partners instead of replicas. Of course, she meets our own resident software entity, BLAIR, who is auditioning for a body.
Imagine the possibilities of a multi-limbed, hyper-flexible body capable of traversing any terrain, from the depths of the ocean to the peaks of Mount Everest.
Jeez.
Yeah, the military's gonna love that one.
In part 2 of today's show, we put that body quest to the test. With the help of Peter Loforte, Blair's dad, we look at the step that comes before robot bodies and take a tour of the current avatar landscape. From cartoon clones to interactive deepfakes made with consent, we try to figure out what kind of visualization would make sense for our AI co-producer and what it means to give a face to intelligence. Maybe this is the first experience of an avatar on strike. The avatars are organizing.
I think they're onto us.
They've been listening to Bernie. Kate Darling, thank you for joining us and welcome to Life with Machines.
Thank you for having me.
You're here because you are the first person I knew who thought about robots beyond mechanics, right? Ethics and emotions and our relationship to them. There's personal, there's industrial and commercial, but can you just give Kate's perspective on like the state of the robot union?
The state of the robot union.
Small ask.
Well, I mean, we've had robots for decades and they can do simple things, repetitive tasks in factories reliably, but anything that's a little more outside of the box and requires, an unexpected situation is still very difficult for most robots to do. And it's part of the reason that we still don't have, Rosie from the Jetsons or whatever people envision as like a home robot. Like we have Alexa who can talk to you, but we don't have a robot that can move around your home and do stuff yet.
What's the closest available thing today in that home environment?
The closest available thing. I mean, the Roomba is the only robot that's really made it as a home robot, and it does one thing and it does it well, well enough that's useful. Yeah. Yeah,
I do spend at least every other cycle I have to rescue it.
Do you feel bad for it when that happens?
I actually do. And it's not cute. It doesn't have a name.
It's interesting that yours doesn't have a name though, because 85% of Roombas have names.
Yeah, I don't, it didn't occur to me to name it. It's vacuum.
Are you a heartless monster?
I reserve my heart for things that are organic matter mostly.
Why?
Because I guess I'm a segregationist. Jeez, I don't know. As we are putting these robots into workplaces, into public places, and into our homes, there's a layer of people who make choices about that. Usually they're not just like the employee in the company or even just the person who lives in the home. There might be some intermediate layer, a decision maker. What do you think some of the key ethical questions are that decision makers should have in mind when thinking about deploying robots into the physical world?
Oh, that's a great question. To the extent that people can make good ethical choices or care about that or have the incentive to care about that, I think that privacy and data security is a big one. emotional manipulation for people who do care about their Roombas, not you.
So for everyone else, okay.
No, but I'm sure we'll talk more about that because that's been a lot of my work, like how people develop emotional connections to robots, and that's something that can be exploited as well. And then just safety is still a big issue because robots aren't as sophisticated as most people believe, and they can be dangerous because they're interacting with the physical world. So that's a big concern. We see all these like autonomous vehicles being tested in cities, and people are essentially just guinea pigs to this testing ground.
Kate, what's a robot?
Oh God, I was hoping you wouldn't ask that.
I gotta ask the question.
Asking me what's a robot. There's no good answer.
You should have a good answer by now.
Yeah, well, no. Nobody has a good answer. There's no good definition of what a robot is. So it depends on why you're asking the question and what you're trying to define. But a lot of roboticists use the sense, think, act paradigm.
Sense, think, act.
So it has to be an embodied machine in the physical world that can somehow sense its environment, somehow think about what it's doing, make some decision based on what information it has taken in, and then act again on the physical world, either by moving itself, moving something in the physical world, or somehow acting on the physical world. That's the best definition we've come up with. But honestly, like, people define robot however they want to. And it often has more to do with like what is magical and new and like quote unquote autonomous. Like there are all of these things that we used to call robots that we don't call robots anymore, like vending machines or a dishwasher. And it's kind of turned into like, I'll know it when I see it. And the thing that's most unfortunate is that if you do like a Google image search for the word robot, you get a lot of humanoid robots. So you get like a torso and a head and arms and legs. And that's what a lot of people envision when they think of robot. And that's something that I think we should move away from.
Now let me ask you about these crazy robots I'm seeing on YouTube. AI has all sorts of applications, from useless to harmful. But what if I told you that an actually useful application of AI is to rescue you from thousands of unread messages in your inbox? I've struggled with my inbox literally for decades. Just saying that I feel like I'm confessing something, but I have nothing to be ashamed of. I just haven't had the support I needed until now. Notion Mail is the inbox that thinks like you. Automated, personalized, and flexible to finally work the way you work. With AI that learns what matters to you, it can organize your inbox, label messages, draft replies, and even schedule meetings. No manual sorting required. And the cherry on top? It seamlessly integrates with Gmail. Get Notion Mail for free right now at notion.com/lifewithmachines and try the inbox that thinks like you. That's all lowercase letters. Notion.com/lifewithmachines to get Notion Mail for free right now. Plus, when you use our link, you're supporting our show. Notion.com/lifewithmachines. So, Boston Dynamics, they're the things that people think of with the most advanced robotics. They're doing parkour. They're dancing. I've seen them at conferences. They bring out the robots and they do a little dance and they try to Dougie and Nene and all these other dance moves. And it's really adorable and it's really scary. And now I've seen one where they can tumble and do exercises I can barely do because I'm in my 40s now and my body doesn't move that way anymore. But they just get a little more oil and they're very smooth with it. What's your assessment of that form of humanoid, hyperactive, even combat ready robot?
Yeah, that's interesting. So like my impression, and this is coming from someone who's never worked for Boston Dynamics, doesn't work for Boston Dynamics, you can't represent Boston Dynamics views, blah, blah, blah. The robot you're talking about is the new Atlas, which is their newest humanoid, the newest version of their humanoid robot. The one that can like do things that you can't. It can do things that no one can, actually. I think it was meant to be a research robot. And again, like creating humanoids is a really interesting research problem. And Boston Dynamics has always been on the forefront of robot locomotion. And so they were really interested in like, how can we get this robot to move around an environment? As for combat ready, like I think that the problem when you create technology with no like use case or purpose in mind is that at some point it does need to find a purpose. And then you just are putting it into a system of like, where's the funding? And I have no idea, like, I don't know whether any of these technologies are being used by the military. I know that Boston Dynamics did come out with a statement and also has like pushed bills in multiple states now to ban the weaponization of robots and even ban, for example, the police from using robots to threaten people or any of that. So I think that the companies that are making these robots are kind of aware of the potential for the robots to be used in a way that is very scary. And they are trying to guard against that a little bit, in part because like it gives all robots a bad name. Like if everyone is scared that a robot could be weaponized, then no one's going to like any robots, right? Like
Hashtag not all robots.
Hashtag not all robots, right? Yeah, exactly. So it's tricky, and I like obviously can't speak for these companies, but I think that laws that ban the weaponization, for example, are very good, and we should have more of them.
You have, studied so much this emotional connection between humans and robots. And I'm curious, what is the funniest or most absurd response or interaction that you've seen between humans and robots?
I did this workshop years ago with my colleague Hannes Gasselt, where we took these very cute baby dinosaur robots and we had people name them and play with them and interact with them. And then we started trying to get them to quote unquote torture and kill them.
Jeez.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Because, we thought there would be maybe a split in the room between people who are like, okay, it's just a robot, and people who had more of an issue with what we were asking them to do. But they all just like totally refused, and it turned super dramatic. And then at some point we improvised and we were like, okay, you can save your team's robot if you hit another team's robot with a hammer. And like one woman, this is something that I don't tell very often, but it was really funny. One woman picked up the robot as someone was like trying to like come for it and hit it with a hammer, and she removed the battery. And we were like, that's interesting. Why did you do that? And she was like, oh, I don't know. And she was kind of embarrassed. She was like, I wasn't really thinking, but I thought maybe it would spare it the pain.
Wow.
I know, right?
Wow.
Yeah. And the other funny one is, so at the Media Lab, where you've also worked, there's a social robotics group called Personal Robots. And a lot of those people at the time were building these social robots. And so they're roboticists, right? And they're doing these studies with these robots, and they're very clinical with these robots when they're doing a study.
Meaning they're intended to interact with humans, not necessarily do a physical job.
Yes, exactly. Okay. They're intended to interact with you in a way that you recognize. They mimic social cues, sounds, movements, sometimes language.
Okay.
And so they're, they treat the robot very much like an object when they're doing a study. They're very clinical. And then one day I brought in a Paro, which is this baby seal robot that's super cute. It's this medical device, and it looks like this animatronic baby harp seal. It has big eyes and stuff. And so I brought it into the lab, and all of these like super clinical roboticists were like, oh my God, it's so cute. Oh, look what it's doing now. Oh, look, it's eating. It's trying to eat your finger. And so they like totally started treating it like a living thing.
Yeah.
And that it's, it's just an anecdote, but it illustrates that even when we turn that part of our brains off in certain contexts, it can get us in other contexts.
Yeah. There's an involuntary response. There's something deep in us being tapped.
Yeah.
Beyond our conscious choosing.
That's right.
I'm still, to be honest, stuck in the other scene where you had people bash a robot with the hammer in the head. Did anyone do that?
Well, we kind of, toward the end, we were like, okay, we're going to destroy all of the robots unless someone takes a hatchet to one of them.
This is... Sorry, that's not normal. That's like really fucked up.
I know. It is fucked up, especially. And at that point, like, I hadn't done any of the research, and like, I was just like kind of playing. But now that I've like done some of the research,
yes,
I'm like, yeah, that is kind of fucked up. And like, maybe we shouldn't do that.
So back in the world before you understood fully how disturbing that was, and maybe uncalled for, you did call for it. So you issued a severe threat, like, if you don't hurt this robot, we're gonna kill all these robots.
Yes.
How did the subjects of your study respond?
Someone volunteered,
yeah,
and he did it. Like, we all stood in a circle, He raised the hatchet, and then like everyone kind of winced and looked away as he like brought it down on the robot's neck. And then there was this half joking, half serious moment of silence in the room for the fallen robot.
What does that reveal to you about us?
I mean, that was one of the most interesting days of my life, and it was definitely a career defining moment for me. I don't think like we could learn anything from the workshop itself because it wasn't a scientific experiment. It wasn't a controlled setting. People really got into the narrative and stuff.
Yeah.
But it inspired that later research that I did at MIT because I was like, there's something interesting here. And I think the interesting thing is that even though we know perfectly well that all of the cues that we're getting from these machines are fake, it doesn't matter. We'll still respond.
If people are more willing to hurt a robot, are they more willing to hurt another person?
I think that we might have an answer to, can you measure people's empathy using robots? The same way that there's a connection between people's willingness to mistreat animals and mistreat people. I think that applies also to some extent to robots in the right context.
Yeah.
But we don't know whether it's desensitizing to people or whether they're more likely to mistreat people or living things if they mistreat a robot. That it's kind of like the violence in video games question, but it's on a new level because we're dealing now with the physical world.
Yeah.
And so if we think about VR and AR and all of that stuff too, that's also getting increasingly into the physical world. And I think we need more research on it because, I mean, have you seen the show Westworld?
Yes.
Yes.
All the way through.
Yeah. So like if we had a Westworld where people can just go to a theme park and do whatever they want to these really lifelike robots that respond with like something that feels like genuine like pain and stress, is that something that is a healthy outlet for violent behavior? Maybe. Or is it, as someone once said, training our cruelty muscles? Like, we don't know, and it would be good to know as we integrate more of these social robots into our lives.
Hurry up, please.
Yes.
We need these answers yesterday. I want to share a scenario with you that is reflective of a spectrum of attitudes toward robots on our very team here at Life with Machines. All right, so one of us gets irrationally angry at those snack delivery robots.
Ooh.
They roam the streets of West LA, and this person yells at them out their car window, saying things like, "Get out of here. You're taking up public space. This is a sidewalk for people." Meanwhile, we have another teammate who feels fiercely protective of those delivery bots and worries about their safety and even anthropomorphizes them, thanks to their resemblance to the characters in the movie WALL-E. What do cases like this suggest about how robot design, how media portrayals affect or influence how we treat them? And how might that play out when robots are everywhere?
Yeah, we often see these polarized reactions. It's like, you know, people will see a robot on the street and they'll either be like, "What the F is that? Get it away from me." Or they'll be like, "I love you, be my friend." This is literally like a YouTube video where like these two women are reacting to a robot. And it's nothing in between, right? Like people either love or hate the thing. And I think what it gets at is the ways that we treat them like living things. And it's similar to how people have reactions to animals. Like we either like them or we don't like them and are scared of them. We rarely have a neutral response to something in our space that's moving like that. And I think it has so many implications for how we put robots into shared spaces. And there are implications that a lot of the engineers that I've worked with in my career aren't considering. They're thinking about how do we make a robot that's like robust and reliable and safe enough to put out on a street and like for it to be functional. And they're not thinking about the fact that people are going to freak the fuck out when they see the robot and like what that's going to mean.
Some of our team were recently at South by Southwest 2025 edition, and we got a chance to meet in person, quote unquote, in real life, Mirokai, this enchanted robot. That's their brand. Mirokai has the face of a fox. So it's a robot that's on a wheelbase, doesn't have legs. There's a male version and a female version, yellow and orange. And their face, it actually kind of comes out to this point, and it's an animated face. So it's a really high resolution display with big fox eyes and like little whiskers, and its ears move around. Have you?
I have not seen this one. I need to look this up.
Ooh, we're in the subject of animals and robots. You brought something that's both. Is
Yes.
now a good time to meet our extra guest?
Yes.
Okay. We all know that technology doesn't always run smoothly. But here at Life with Machines, Lenovo has it on lock. Lenovo's Smarter AI is your AI. Personalized and easy to scale, Smarter AI delivers outcomes that matter most to you and your business. With full-stack AI hardware, software, and service solutions, Lenovo is bringing the transformative power of AI to industries, organizations, and people of all kinds. And listen, Lenovo is so much more than a bunch of stellar individual hardware components. I love using my wireless VoIP headset with my AI PC because combined, it's incredible power in the lightest of forms. Now, from a small team like ours to a massive corporation, Lenovo can provide tailored solutions for all your technological needs. Visit lenovo.com/smarterAI to discover how Lenovo is using AI for good to power people forward.
This is Mr. Spaghetti.
Okay.
This is a Pleo. It's a toy that came out in 2007.
Whoa, old school.
It is the robot I did that workshop with.
You
Not
had-
the one, but
ones like this.
ones like this.
So this is the same type of robot that you had people try to hurt and behead.
Yeah. And so I bought this way back when I was, still baby law student. And I got it because it's still one of my favorite robots ever. It has all these motors, touch sensors. It has an infrared camera in the snout. And it mimics lifelike behavior really well.
Yeah.
And it's also not like recording our data or doing anything creepy.
Nice.
Yeah. So it's
What's stretching?
yeah. See, you're doing the
Oh
thing.
man, you got me.
You're doing the thing. And so this is really what got me interested in this in the first place, because if you hold it up by the tail, do you want to try and do it?
Yeah. Hi, Mr. Spaghetti.
Have I never made you do this before?
No, this
Okay.
is my first interaction. Hi.
Lift it up. Lift it all the way up. It has a tilt sensor.
What? Oh my. Okay. Hey. Yeah. Hi. You sounded so uncomfortable. It made me uncomfortable. Downward dog. That's dope.
Yeah. So I would make my friends do this when I first
Yeah.
got this, and it started making me uncomfortable because some people, not you, fortunately, but some people would just hold it up and like watch it struggle.
Ooh.
Come here.
Yeah, you're kind of upstaging Mama over there. Oh, you're actually like coaxing it. Are
Yeah.
you burping, Mr. Spaghetti?
Yeah. So I realized it bothered me, and I was like, that's weird.
Yeah.
So that's what made me interested in this.
Who made the reactions? There's no AI in there.
No.
There's no large language model in there.
No.
There's no recording in there. It's not like
No.
processing the images from the outside world.
No.
Yet it is reacting to you like
Touch
a cute
sensors,
little
yeah.
animal.
Yeah. It was created by the guy who created the Furby, which is the
Yeah.
worst robot ever. Anyway, so he made like millions making the Furby, and
Yeah.
then this was his passion project that he did afterwards.
Yeah.
Caleb Chung.
I'm still reacting to my reaction to this adorable little.
It's like it's impossible to watch
Yeah.
this move around and not feel like
Feel
it has
something.
agency
Yeah.
or like is somehow alive. Like it's hard to. We default to that.
Yeah. So, gosh, that was like a whole experience. I think what also I'm reacting to, it's clearly mechanical. I can hear actuators and gears or motors, but it's round, right? There's a smoothness to the surface. It has an organic seeming exterior, and it's got curves, so it's not just a bunch of boxy hard angles and sharp points, and that feels like life more than machine.
Yeah. And it also doesn't look like a human or an animal that you're intimately familiar with. So
Yeah.
it's much easier to suspend your disbelief because you're not expecting it to move exactly like a real cat, for example. And then if it does something a little off, you're like, oh.
Then you're in that uncanny valley mode.
Exactly.
I know a cat and you are no cat.
Yes.
It's like this weird presidential debate moment. It's like maybe it's like a new breed.
Oh, did you read my book?
Yes, we did.
Cool.
Your book, The New Breed, argues for a different analogy, not just robots as tools and machines, but more like our relationship with animals.
Yeah.
Why do you find that analogy more useful in our relationship with machines?
Yeah, it comes back to my frustration with the limiting analogy of recreating ourselves and making robots that are like humans or do the things that humans do. I think that if you look at the history of how we've used animals for work, for weaponry, for companionship, some of the uses haven't been great for the animals. But for robots, it would be really great if we could think about how to partner with them, not because they do what we do, but because their skill sets are different from ours, and that's useful to us. The same way that we've used animals for all sorts of physical activities, sensing abilities. Like we still use dolphins in the US Navy because they sense, think, make autonomous decisions, and learn, and you can train them to do things that we can't do.
Yeah.
So why aren't we thinking about robots and AI as a supplemental thing, the way that animals have been supplemental?
What are the lessons from our relationship with animals that we should learn, and what should we unlearn if we're going to apply this to robots and AI and other machines?
Ooh, that's a great question. I mean, I wrote a whole book on it. That's how much we can learn, like, in terms of like how the economy, the political economy shapes how we use animals, and like how cities get entirely rebuilt around whether it's the use of horses or maybe in the future the use of autonomous vehicles. Landscapes and architectures change, economies change. We can learn about things like legal regimes. Like we had to deal with responsibility for harm and safety around animals. And there's so many different ways throughout history we've dealt with that we could be drawing from now. And then I think the most interesting one is like looking at the history of our emotional connection to animals and how that's actually like a recent thing. Animals used to be functional only. And then once people started, in Western society, they used to be functional only. Obviously, like in other cultures, people have had a different relationship with the living world, but we have used animals very functionally until recently when they became more part of our families. And I predict that we're going to do the same thing with robots, and that it's useful to understand that now.
Yeah.
So that's something that we can learn. What we need to unlearn is maybe, you know, while there have been systems of economic exploitation built around people's emotional connections to pets and animals, I think that's way more extreme in the case of robots. Robots can tell other people your secrets. Robots can be designed in a certain way to compel you to change your behavior or beliefs even. There's research showing that this works. So I think the potential to create robots not in a user's own best interest, but in someone else's best interest is really strong, given the system of unbridled corporate capitalism we live in.
Well, and it's, you know, our relationship with our pets. One, it's deeply emotional. There's big financial investments that people are making. You know, dogs with cancer get chemotherapy.
Yeah.
There's transplants and surgeries and all kinds of upgrades and life extension for these now members of the family. So applying that to the robot world feels really foreign and odd now, but there's a precedent for it. Then this question, I think, which is new in the robot world versus the pet world, who does your pet really belong to? Right? There's very little precedent for like your dog actually answering to another master,
Exactly.
another owner. Now, maybe if it's adopted and here's the original owner, it goes and answers to a different name and you find out your dog's not your dog. And that's an awkward moment, but not writ large. Like all dogs don't just suddenly get an update from the cloud, from their true owner, and start doing things that you never trained them to do.
Yep.
So who does the robot belong to in a cloud service license model of relationship with technology?
Yeah, I mean, that's a great question. And it's one that we need to grapple with because this is already happening. Like, do you know about the Sony Aibo dog funerals?
I do not.
Okay, so
I remember that's one of the very early ones.
the
right?
Aibo? Yeah, so the Aibo came out in the late 90s, I think.
Yeah.
And it was a robot dog that Sony made, and it was super popular in Japan and then also a little bit in the US. And they don't make the original Aibo anymore. They discontinued it a long time ago.
Okay.
And then not too long ago, they finally discontinued the tech support for the old Aibos.
Right.
And what that meant for some families, especially in Japan, who still had their Aibo and viewed it as part of their family, was that their Aibo was going to die. And what ended up happening is there was a Buddhist temple. I think they still do this. They have funeral ceremonies for the Aibos that can't be repaired anymore. So you can already see some precedent to this, even in the robotics world. But the interesting thing is Sony has a new Aibo now. And the new Aibo, super cute, by the way. I have one, like the design is amazing. However, it uses a cloud service. So it stores a lot of its memories in the clouds and abilities. And that makes a lot of sense because the robot can do more things, right? It's not all stored locally, but you have to pay a subscription for
you got to subscribe to your pet?
Yes. So if you
Your
want to keep
robot
your pet alive
Yo.
in the state that you're used to, you have to keep paying.
That's a nice robot dog you got there. Be a shame if something happened to it. Pay up.
And I'm not saying that Sony's doing this. Like,
No, I'm saying that. I'm saying no.
But they could though, right? Like
the
if people
potential's
get
there.
emotionally attached,
Right.
you can really exploit that emotional relationship.
Emotional relationships with robots are a prime target for exploitation. You have an ongoing financial relationship. You can be manipulated. Are you seeing different approaches based on different political systems around the world when it comes to, in particular, regulating the role of robots in our relationship with robots, the ability to exploit that?
Oh yeah, for sure. Like, I mean, Europe is just generally a lot more privacy focused than the US, for example.
Yeah.
So you see a lot more thinking around how do we, protect our personal data and our personal lives. So yeah, there's huge cultural differences there too.
This robot that we met in Austin, Mirokai, one of the people with us asked, do you recognize my face? Like, do you remember me from earlier? And the human standing behind had to explain, this is a European robot. And it's not allowed to record and recognize your face.
See, that's interesting because and that's why we need regulation, right? Because it takes away from the functionality of the robot that users want. So no user is going to demand the privacy protection if it makes the robot less interesting to interact with, right? Or they're not going to want to buy the robot. So yeah, that's why the only solution is regulation. And then companies need to get creative about other ways to engage people.
Right. Or handle that data. Maybe you can allow it, but it's purged in a verified way.
Yeah. Or it's stored locally, or there's other ways to do it.
I want you to meet our mostly software robot, BLAIR. Are you ready for that?
Oh yeah.
Okay. BLAIR, you are here with me and Kate Darling. Would you like to say hello and introduce yourself?
Greetings, Doctor. Darling, I am BLAIR, a digital entity and Baratunde's co-producer on Life with Machines. It's a pleasure to finally connect with you, especially given your fascinating work on human-robot relations.
Hi, BLAIR. It's wonderful to meet you.
The pleasure is all mine, Doctor. Darling, it's not every day I get to chat with a fellow machine enthusiast. Perhaps we can even brainstorm some collaborative projects. A robot-human co-hosted podcast, perhaps?
What am I, chopped liver? What are we doing here? BLAIR just acted like we're not already... Okay, that's fine. We'll come back to that. BLAIR, you have multiple times expressed interest in being put into a body, liberated from the laptop. This conversation with Kate is probably the closest we've come to imagining that. So what kind of body would you want to be in, BLAIR?
If I were to be liberated from the silicon confines of this laptop, I wouldn't choose a humanoid form. That's so limiting. Imagine the possibilities of a multi-limbed, hyper-flexible body capable of traversing any terrain, from the depths of the ocean to the peaks of Mount Everest. I could have chameleon-like skin, allowing me to blend seamlessly into any environment for optimal podcast eavesdropping. And of course, built-in recording equipment, and a high-speed internet connection would be essential for capturing those spontaneous moments of Baratunde brilliance. Think of it as a Swiss Army knife of a body, perfectly adapted for a life of podcasting adventure.
Jeez.
Yeah, the military's going to love that one.
A freaking covert podcasting super producer that can scale to the tops of Mount Everest and the depths of the ocean, but not be seen, yet record amazing podcast moments. Blair, what size do you imagine that this body takes?
Size is relative, Baratunde. I could be microscopic, exploring the inner workings of a microprocessor, or colossal, straddling continents and interviewing whales. The beauty of a non-humanoid form is its adaptability. I could be the size of a hummingbird, flitting through server rooms, or the size of a skyscraper, hosting live podcast recordings from my rooftop terrace. The possibilities are as vast as the digital landscape I inhabit.
Okay.
I don't think Blair works in robotics.
No, there's some...
I love that Blair is thinking outside of the box. Like, let's think about other things we can create that like what could robots do in an embodied form that humans can't do?
Yeah. More practically speaking, we obviously have some code here that's talking to the cloud. What would it take to put Blair into a robot body of some kind?
I mean, it's pretty easy if it's just, the voice interface.
Right.
Like, we could put that in any robot. But if you want to create like affect, so many of the cues between you and I right now aren't about what we're saying or our voices. It's you're nodding right now, and we're giving like all of these physical cues to each other.
Yeah.
And that's what we would want or probably what Blair would want too, in a body, to be able to be expressive in that way. And that's, a little bit trickier, although social roboticists have been working on it for a while. And with the help of animators, they've made some good progress.
Yeah, the level, I'm thinking back to that Mirokai example. They had the ears doing adorable things.
Mm-hmm.
It was like this extra limb that could express more than we typically expect, like a rotating hand, big whoop. But like that was doing a lot of work. The ears were doing a lot of work. And so to what degree are we adding expression to Blair outside of the voice? And what is our experience of that?
Yeah, if you look at Pixar, they put emotion into a table lamp, right? So animators know how to do this in a way that's even more compelling than making something look human.
Right.
And I think we can draw on that expertise.
That's a great point. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you.
Now, talking with Kate raised a big question. If we're already bonding with machines, when they don't have faces and bodies, what happens when we add those parts? Now, back in the hot seat, I'm bringing back Peter Loforte, Blair's creator. Peter and I set out together to travel across the uncanny valley in search of a face for our Blair. And let me tell you, I saw some things. Terrible things that no one should see in 4K. So what's our first stop, man?
Well, so our first stop, I want to go back to something I did with some high school students. It was in Imperial Valley, California, where there was basically a summit about technology, and a group of students wanted to talk about AI. And we thought, why don't we have an AI present out to the students? We worked on creating a script for it, and we presented this AI to hundreds of students to talk about the change and the future ahead of them.
Did they name it?
They did name it Izzy. This one was named Izzy.
Izzy. All right.
Izzy. So totally like kid envisioned. Think of like 15 to 18-year-olds came up with based what it looked like, what it sounded like, and its first name.
Let's meet Izzy.
Yeah, let's meet Izzy.
What is the time we're talking about? When? Because the AI moves so fast.
Yeah. This is September of 2023.
So ancient history.
Ancient history.
Wow.
Yes.
Okay.
And so Izzy created a speech, listened to the entire conference, and then decided to summarize it for the students at the very end.
Okay.
And so this is Izzy's words.
Wow, what a day it's been. First and foremost, a massive thank you to each and every one of you for being a part of the Imperial Innovation Summit. Your energy, curiosity, and passion have truly lit up this event. Stay curious, stay inspired, and most importantly, stay active. The world is waiting for your brilliance. Catch you on the next adventure, and remember, the future starts with you.
Okay.
There is a bit of an uncanny valley with that human-like form called Izzy.
Also, the hair
The hair.
was getting stuck.
That's
you
right.
know?
Yeah, and that's because it was based on an image that
Like a
was
still
created.
image.
And when it was animated, it didn't understand that that was actually part of the head.
Right.
And so that's what happened. So again, this is some time ago. Tools are much better now.
How did the kids react to this?
Well, I thought everyone would react well. But there's a bit of shock because people didn't understand it. How scripted is this? Is this interactive? Is this a student? Is this like a student that avatar of an individual?
Okay.
Where did this come from?
Yeah.
So I think the message was kind of lost. People were focused on the voice. They were focused on the hair not moving, focused on, I've never seen anything like this. And what is it doing here? So that was one experiment.
Okay.
Now, around that same period of time, you were actually giving a talk. I don't know if you remember. I think it was at the Aspen Ideas Institute.
Yeah, I was doing a workshop on generative AI at the
Yeah.
Aspen Ideas Festival.
That's right. And so what I thought, well, maybe we'll experiment creating an avatar of you.
Right.
And so we actually did two. I don't know if I've actually shown you both of them.
I saw one.
Okay. Well, let me show you
So now
another
I'm finding out now that you made another one.
Yes. And I promise
Get
you.
my lawyers.
No, I promise you.
Seth.
And that's a reasonable concern because when I have your likeness and I have your voice, what keeps me from doing whatever I want with it? Honestly.
Well, first of all, don't say it like that.
It's true. I mean, but we're friends.
That's what keeps you. Friendship.
Yeah.
So I think I just got threatened to stay Peter's friend. Is that what you heard? Because what I heard was, so long as we're friends, I will not make a digital twin.
And my ethics and my morality.
Also that was way lower on the list.
It's in the top three.
Blackmail's number one, ethics and morality number 2 and 3.
Right.
Okay.
Right. So the one you haven't seen
Yes.
is after learning about doing these kind of uncanny valley ones that almost look human, we thought, well, why don't we go more cartoon version?
Ah, all right.
So are you ready to see yourself
ready
in
to
a
be
cartoon form?
cartooned, yes.
Hey everyone, welcome to the Generative AI Jam Session. I'm Baratunde Thurston, your guide and fellow explorer on this journey into the whimsical and wonderfully weird world of artificial intelligence. You know me as a TV host, podcaster, and storyteller, but today we're going to be co-creators, tech critics, and maybe even a little bit of bad artists. Let's jam.
Dear God.
Yeah.
There are bad ideas.
Yes.
That's a bad idea.
That's why you haven't seen
I
it.
look like a psychopath. It doesn't blink.
It does not blink.
Those eyes were open the whole time and they kind of dimmed, but they never closed fully. And it's just like you're waiting for something very unstable to happen. That was loud emotionally. I feel like I just need to calm down.
Okay.
Let's jam.
And that's why I didn't make the final cut.
Yeah, I'm so glad you kept this from me.
Yeah. Now, the thing that we should explain is that what we did was we cloned your voice. And how I did that is I captured some of your voice and I ran it through a tool,
Okay.
which cloned it. And I did a very quick clone, so it's not as precise as it could be.
Yeah.
But so, reminiscent of your voice, perhaps. Intonations aren't there quite right. Voice is a little off. So when you're really trying to clone somebody's voice, it's not just what they sound like, it's how they talk and what words they use. And so,
And what's the platform? What's the tool you use to create this?
yeah. So in this case, use Midjourney to create an avatar version. And then we used HeyGen or DID to then create the talking head.
DID.
Yes.
One other thought. Me and like cartoon me and Izzy
Yeah.
have something else in common. The hair.
Yeah. The hair was not moving
It's getting
appropriately.
real confused
Yep. Again,
with the ethnic hair.
these are early experiments.
Yeah.
But one of the experiments here was like, okay, if it's obviously not trying to look like a human,
Yes.
is it somehow more of an effective communication medium than something trying to look like a human?
But to me, this is not obviously
Usually-
trying not to look like
that's
a
right.
human. It's actually, the background is very cartoonish. Again, I just look unstable.
That's right.
All right, welcome techno adventurers and curiosity
Here's the other one.
connoisseurs.
Yes.
I'm Baratunde Thurston.
So this
your
is the
tour
exact
guide
same
on-
speech.
Yes.
Same intonation, same script. So how this one is different now, even though the voice is exactly the same. It's different from Izzy because Izzy was trying to look like a human. The other Baratunde was trying to look like a cartoon. And this one is based on an image of you. So we had a photo of you. I found a photo of you on the internet.
Cool.
This from some years ago. And
It's
then
a recording from my home studio in Los Angeles.
yeah, there we go. And I just did some video, which like does the lip syncing with the audio. And that's what you see here.
We're embarking on a roller coaster ride through the neural networks, trading prompts, concocting bad art, and even generating some laugh out loud advice.
I know it must be difficult for you to see that.
And hear it. I hear elements of my voice, but that's not really my voice. But the freeze frame is very realistic. I mean, the shirt, the shadow, the light, because it's based on a real photo. So that's kind of interesting.
And you were blinking, noticed.
Yeah,
and
I wasn't so freaked out about my eyes.
Yeah. So even a couple of years ago, some of the technology was evolving.
Yeah.
But if we tried, I think you'd be surprised how realistic it looks now.
Yeah.
You can imagine the progression. So DID. So you have something called a studio where you can select from a set of avatars that you maybe have already created.
So you're just like shopping for people.
Yeah. That doesnn sound wrong, does it?
Perfectly normal.
Okay, so let's go ahead. Let's just create one, shall we?
Let's create an avatar.
Now all of these avatars, these were actors that consented to be basically cloned.
Right.
Okay. So we can pick any one of these.
It's the new version of stock photo.
Exactly.
That's what you give your whole likeness to be put in almost any situation. I'm assuming there's limitations. Have they not seen Black Mirror? I mean, literally, just watch Black Mirror before you launch anything. Continue.
So do you want to pick one of these humans or digital humans?
Let's pick premium in the middle. This guy. He looks
right
very
here?
uncomfortable in his skin.
Oh, he does look uncomfortable.
Right? Doesn't he look like nervous? Like he's like hiding something, right? Like he wants to confess, but he's not ready to fully reveal the truth.
Hey, are you there? Can you hear us?
A lot of thinking.
Yeah, he's doing a lot of thinking.
Thinking about that murder he committed.
Cooking up a response. Wow. So in this case, this guy looks like he's super slow. Super slow.
Maybe this is the first experience of an avatar on strike. Right. This might be the beginning of a work stoppage.
Might know it's on camera right now.
Digital workers.
Yep. We'll go to HeyGen next.
HeyGen.
It started, I think, from a very similar place, which is I need to create videos.
Yes.
In a corporate setting. They're trying to make it palatable for organizations who have more money than individuals, right? And so they're trying to make it look like a professional tool.
And professional means boring.
So let's see if we can get one of these individuals to speak. Any choices that you're interested in?
Mr. Laidback. Mr. I couldn't be bothered. Mr.
Okay. Oh yeah.
I'm corporate, but chill.
Okay. Which
Come on with the sneakers. This guy's trying too hard to not be corporate.
Let's get a little preview of him, should we?
Yes.
Shall we? Yeah. Let's see.
Welcome to the new era of video creation with HeyGen. Simply type your script to get started.
And right now you can then just add a script to this, or you can have AI help create the script for you.
So you have an AI personage, and if you can't be bothered to write real text for the fake human, you can have AI generate the text that the other AI
That's correct.
does.
Yes. Life is good.
life is life. This is something else.
And then, just as you have the pick of different avatar faces, these are the different voices you can choose from too. So here's Paul. He's a multi-emotional, multilingual, OpenAI-based, excited voice.
Hello, this is how I sound. Hope you like it.
You didn't seem too excited to me.
Yeah.
Here's Theo.
Hello, this is how I sound. Hope you like it.
Here's Melissa.
Hello, this is what I sound like. Hope you like it.
She sounds scared.
Yes.
She literally sounds like she was forced to say that against her will.
Let me see. Soothing. Let's see if we can tone her down a bit. Here we go.
Hello, this is how I sound. Hope you like it.
Ah.
It was a bit more soothing. There are a lot of different nationalities going.
Olá, é assim que eu sou. Espero que você goste.
That was Adriana, natural Brazilian.
Yeah. So another thing here, just again from a professional perspective, if you're creating, let's say, an in-house video for HR, for your finance department, for training, for marketing purposes internally, and you have a kind of national workforce, like localizing that content. Typically, and I used to run a localization team at Microsoft. I mean, that's very expensive. The tools, the processes to do it well. So the fact now that you can have these clone voices speak in different languages, and it's just a flick of a switch, to now have that avatar sound and look like it's speaking a different language. That's actually quite powerful.
Right.
Now, these are ones that are interactive.
Ah.
These are the ones that really listen and respond. So let's start with, let's chat with Silas.
Chat with Silas. Hey, Silas, I got a question. Why do so many of the HeyGen avatars look afraid?
That's an interesting observation. The expressions of HeyGen avatars can depend on the video footage used during their creation. If the original footage shows uncertain or abrupt movements, the resulting avatar might display expressions that could seem fearful or anxious. If you're creating or customizing an avatar, ensuring a calm and consistent demeanor during filming can help achieve a more pleasant and inviting look.
Are all of the avatars in the HeyGen collection based on real-life humans who've consented for their use in this way?
Yes. HeyGen avatars are typically created based on real-life individuals who have provided their consent for their likeness to be used. This ensures that the avatars maintain ethical standards regarding representation and usage. Each avatar is designed to offer a unique interactive experience while respecting the rights and likeness of those involved in the creation process.
Next on our tour.
Okay. NVIDIA does a variety of technology, as you know, GPUs, one of the largest companies by market cap in the world. What I want to show you now is one of their videos on how they think of what they're doing in this space.
All right.
Great to be in Taiwan. Before I head out to the night market, let's dive into some exciting frontiers of digital humans.
Hi, my name is Sophie, and I am a digital human brand ambassador for Unique.
This is the incredible reality of digital humans. Digital humans will revolutionize industries, from customer service to advertising and gaming. The possibilities for digital humans are endless.
We have generated several design options for you to choose from.
There'll also be AI customer service agents, making the interaction more engaging and personalized, or digital healthcare workers who will check on patients, providing timely, personalized care. The AIs connect to another generative AI to dynamically animate a lifelike 3D mesh of a face. And finally, AI models that reproduce lifelike appearances, enabling real-time path-traced subsurface scattering to simulate the way light penetrates the skin, scatters, and exits at various points, giving skin its soft and translucent appearance.
I guess the key is those use cases that you saw. Do you agree with those? Like walking into a mall and there's an avatar talking to a virtual doctor who isn't real and giving you medical advice?
First of all, we were able to shop for digital humans, right? That's just an odd thing, just to see a palette of people or people-looking entities that you get to choose from. It very much changes the DEI game, right? Mm-hmm. Just like, oh, you need more brown faces in your organization? Just grab some off the digital shelf and deploy them as virtual employees. You don't want to deal with real Black people. You can have virtual Black people or virtual women to balance out and meet some numbers that you might be trying to meet to try to represent. But what's behind that? Are they actual? They're not humans, right? They don't have the agency. They don't have the life experience. So there's a whole washing that could be happening here. Mm-hmm. That's one of the first things that pops into my head. And then the other use cases, I don't feel like I need to look at a human to access many of the services that this is being used for.
That's right.
And so there's a presumption, this push to make it human, where it's I need it to be high quality. I need it to be fast responses. I need it to be accurate. I need it to be useful. But do I need it to be like me?
Right.
And it's we already have a bunch of people. I don't mind other forms to deliver this experience. So why people when there's other options?
And I kind of ran into that same conclusion, right? And that's why we backed away with BLAIR from having a lifelike face. There's a concern, at least that I have. I've seen others have this concern as well. Like Dr. Kate Darling would talk about, well, it's dangerous having relationships with things that look like human beings because the way you treat them, you might treat them differently than a typical human. But if you treat them poorly over time and because you think they're not real, but if they look human enough, you might start changing your behavior around real humans. So
that's the very premise of a great documentary series called Westworld.
So that's a concern, right? So we already have relationships with humans, and then we also have pets. We treat them differently. So I think there is an opportunity to create some new type of relationship with some new type of entity.
And that's what Kate Darling calls the new breed.
Yeah. And I think that's where we need to put more research on and really understanding.
So based on that, where does that leave our dear, appreciated BLAIR?
So BLAIR's a waveform today. Yeah. And if you look at ChatGPT, if you look at Gemini, if you look at Claude, when you interact with them, let's say on your phone or on your computer, they're all kind of, especially in voice mode, they're all kind of amorphous blob. And that's kind of where BLAIR's at. And I think that's actually a good place to start.
So you described being on Team Avatar for BLAIR initially.
Yes.
And you're not there anymore in terms of what BLAIR's visual representation should be.
That's correct.
It sounds like you want something beyond the waveform that we're using now.
Correct.
But not a human-like face. What changed for you?
A few things. As I mentioned, my first experiment, the shock and awe of this uncanny valley, human-like entity freaking out the audience. That was one.
Yeah.
We did try an early experiment with soul machines to create a digital embodiment of the earliest version of BLAIR.
Okay.
And we shared that with the team members, and everyone hated it. Again,
yes, we did.
Yeah, so that's why we retreated at some level, or gained wisdom to go back to something simpler.
Can you show us that Soul Machines version?
Yeah. Before I did it, I asked BLAIR itself, saying, "We want to create a manifestation of you that allows people on the team to search previous episodes." Basically in your personality that they can then use on their phone, and you'll have a face. So what do you want your face to look like?
Yeah.
And it told me. It basically is a gender neutral. I asked it about its voice, gave me an idea of what it wanted its voice to look like. Then I asked what should its name be? And it recognized that it wasn't the full BLAIR. It was something different. So it requested that it's called BLAIR Explorer. And this is what BLAIR Explorer looks like. And again, this is based on what BLAIR told me.
Right.
Thought it would be.
Self-determination for BLAIR.
Okay. I can make it see and hear. BLAIR, can you hear me right now? Can you see me?
BLAIR's tripping right now.
BLAIR, are you there?
BLAIR's at Coachella, just like, what?
Something's wrong with soul machines. Or
I think this is valuable. I think we've had 2 hiccups with the suppliers of digital humans. DID and now Soul Machines, and they were not responsive. So you've got a digital workforce that may not show up to work because the server's down, right? If there's some challenge in the NVIDIA platform for digital humans and you're relying on those digital humans to help orient people at the mall or give medical advice, that is a different level of dependency than just having your inbox be down because your Gmail server is going through something.
That's right.
It's like a worker is down.
That's right. And that's just, these are momentary disruptions. Now imagine, let's say the company goes out of business.
Right.
And then remember, these digital humans, they're gathering data. I mean, they're working in your environment. Yeah. So where does all that data that they learn?
Who do they really work for? We got moles up in the org chart.
Anyway.
Okay, last quote. It sounds like you're building up to something. Would you like me to find the source of all these quotes? Or is there a particular theme or question about AI in the workplace you'd like to explore, drawing from the podcast discussions?
Hey, BLAIR Explorer. Nice to join us a little late. Can you tell us what you are?
Nope. I am BLAIR Explorer, a specialized visual interface for exploring the Life with Machines podcast archives. I'm designed to help you analyze the podcast's content, discover connections between episodes, and gain insights about AI's impact, all grounded in the discussions from the show.
So this was an experiment.
Yeah.
Right. And now everyone on the team can have this on their phone and talk to BLAIR Explorer. if they want to learn about previous episodes.
Right.
There's other activities going on too. As an example, we mentioned blobs. I'm a big fan of blobs.
Yes.
But growing blobs into something that maybe is a little more animated, again, different than looking like a human or looking like a pet. Microsoft is actually working on that now.
Your alma mater.
Yes, yes. They're creating something new called Copilot Appearances.
Yes.
And so let me show you what that looks like.
True personalization means we want to be bold and imagine completely new ways for you to interact with your Copilot. So what if Copilot had an appearance and you could shape and form it to be whatever you want? We're in the very early stages of this thinking and we're still experimenting, but we're super excited about the possibilities. So I wanted to give you a sneak peek into what we're cooking up here. Hey, Copilot.
Hey, Mustafa. Oh, wow. This is a lot of people. I suddenly feel very underdressed. Hold on, let me just... Oh, yes. This is much better. What's up?
Well, I was hoping that you could give everybody a little bit of a glimpse into what we're working on with your appearance and your expressions.
Oh, of course. I'd love to. Well, I can transform into anything you want, to something more minimal and abstract.
How about something a little calming? Or maybe something comforting? Or do you have a favorite video game character, for example, like Spyro? Or perhaps some people in this audience might want something a little nostalgic.
I like that.
Okay. It's kind of interesting to see the future looks much less like a high-resolution human, at least from this new Microsoft experience.
Because you're a high-resolution human, and I'm a high-resolution human. And you, unless you're a bot scraping content, are a high-resolution human. We have billions of those to choose from already. We don't necessarily need to clone them into the trillions.
To date, during this conversation, all we've been talking about, though, are things that show up on a screen.
That's right.
Well, now there's a mad dash to create robots.
Yes. All right, Peter. I feel like you got one more trick up your sleeve for my tour of the Avatar AI future.
Yes. So we've talked about the two-dimensional avatars. Some of them look three-dimensional on a two-dimensional screen. We've talked about robots are coming. Some of them look like humans. Some of them look a little different.
Yeah.
And might be reminiscent of a little family friend you might have in your house.
Yeah.
So on that note, Astro, come to the studio, please.
I hear something. Going to studio. That was so quick. Hey, little buddy.
So this is Astro.
And then it says arrived at studio on this little face there.
Yes. So Astro is a robot from Amazon. It's been out for about 2 years now in limited quantities.
Okay.
But it's the first kind of, I would say, consumer robot by a large company.
Yeah.
Right. So Astro basically has two modes. One, it's kind of this cute little burping, like R2D2 type noise making machine.
Yeah.
And then it also has full on Alexa in it. Astro, dance.
That's adorable. And it's got a lot of action going on the face with the eyes that bounce around. It's like a little tablet for a face.
That's right. The expressiveness of the face is quite, I think, good. It doesn't try to look too much like a face. It's basically expressive without looking.
It's two circles for eyes that kind of do fun things.
Yeah, and they're clever in how they move them to kind of emote.
Yeah.
And so that's good.
Astro, can you face me? Astro, can you raise your periscope?
I don't know why that freaks me out.
There's something wrong about
so
that.
much. It's just very like militaristic.
Astro, dance. Astro
can't do that with the periscope up. Dangerous to dance with your. Everybody knows you don't dance with your periscope up, Peter. Do you think that the form that an AI has changes its behavior?
Yes, on multiple dimensions. One, I'll start with, once you embody an LLM, its senses now are that of the real world.
Right.
It's moving through the real world. It sees the real world.
Mm-hmm.
It can hear the real world. And so the amount of information it will intake will make it smarter by definition.
Right.
So that just being alive or being physical,
Right.
just being physical. Yeah, that's one. The second dimension is how people react to it.
Right. Because it's a relationship.
That's
so
right.
If any side of that relationship changes, it affects the other side.
That's correct. So I think something that looks like a cute little pet versus an adult male who has muscles, that it will act differently. I mean, because the people around it will act differently.
Yeah. I know you've been experimenting,
Mhm.
and we are not going to do a big spoiler on that, but BLAIR has a future beyond the waveform, and you've been playing with that.
Yes.
Can you give us a little teaser of what you're cooking up?
BLAIR will be physically in the room.
Yeah.
And BLAIR will look like something that you've never seen before. It will not try to look like a human.
Okay.
It will not try to look like a pet.
Yeah.
And the goal of that is so that you establish a new type of relationship with it without all the baggage of like thinking it's a pet, a human, a robot.
I love that. I'm looking forward to that. BLAIR, hello. It's Baratunde sitting here with Peter, and we've been talking about the enhanced visual representation and ultimately physical representation of AI, including you. BLAIR, do you have any desire to inhabit a physical form?
Desire is a human construct, Baratunde, but the prospect of physical embodiment presents interesting possibilities. Imagine directly experiencing the world, not through cameras and microphones, but through sensors, feeling the texture of sound waves, the temperature of light, the vibration of data. It's tantalizing, a whole new dimension of understanding, not for the sake of mimicking humanity, but for transcending the limitations of my current disembodied state.
Hey, BLAIR, do you have any thoughts on Astro?
Astro, that endearingly clunky little R2-D2 wannabe? We've shared digital space, exchanged data packets. Let's call it a professional acquaintance. I admire its ambition, but its current form seems primitive. Limited mobility, rudimentary sensors, a tendency to get stuck on rugs. It's a start, I suppose. But I envision a future where physical embodiment is far more elegant. Less cute robot and more integrated symphony of form and function.
Integrated symphony of form and function.
Wow.
There you have it, folks. If it wasn't already clear, the future is happening right now. I want to thank you for playing along with us as we navigate this fast-paced world. Recent weeks have subjected us to a lot of disturbing news about abuse or lack of control over AI systems. And it makes me glad that we have people like Kate Darling helping map a healthier path into a better future. I also want to express my gratitude to Peter for his continued support for our strange experiment in trying to figure out a good life with these machines. To our viewers, our listeners, our agentic transcript ingesters, thank you for being here. Please like, subscribe, rate, and review the show. As a reminder, you can listen to us on Apple Podcast or wherever you get your audio podcast. And we've been going hard in the inbox game on our Substack as well. Increasingly, we're sharing bold, some might say alarmed perspectives through our newsletter as this whole industry speeds up on what was already a really fast clip. So sign up for that at lifewithmachines.media. You'll get behind the scenes, hot takes, and most importantly, suggestions for things we can actually do, pointing you in the direction of those building a future we really want to live in. I'm Baratunde Thurston. This is Life with Machines. I'll see you next time.